Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. If you happen to be watching me a few minutes ago, there I was doing this live stream and the doorbell rang and I had to interrupt myself. But that's life, right? Interruptions happen, we go with the flow, we're flexible. But the topic of this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, wherever you are in the world, is the concept of imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome really is that feeling of self-doubt, that feeling of, am I good enough? That feeling of, do I deserve to be here? What if the people that I am impressing find out who I really am? And it's a feeling and something that many people experience, even if they are CFOs and CTOs and CEOs. And I've trained and coached people for decades who, even in the highest position, experience these moments of self-doubt. And it comes from a variety of places. But today I wanted to talk about how do we deal with those feelings. So the first step in anything is to recognize that I am feeling less than now. I am feeling insecure. I am nervous that I might be found out, right? So that's the first step, is the recognition. The second thing is to say to yourself, I am not alone. This is not something that is unique to me. And why that's so powerful is once we realize that other people experience it too, it normalizes it. So often in my workshops and in my seminars and in my keynotes, people come to me afterwards and say, I'm so relieved. I didn't realize that so many other people experience that too. So number one, recognition, and then normalizing. And then there is the power of thought replacement. So how does this work? I walk into a room full of people and I am the presenter. And for a moment I panic thinking, am I good enough? Do I know enough? Am I really the subject expert in this particular area? And then you do a quick inventory of everything that you do know. And you play what I call your positive emotional memory database. And what is that? That is a series of accomplishments, of things you have done. And for those of you who've attended my workshops and seminars and keynotes, you'll know I speak about this a lot. And that is the ability to very quickly access validating moments, things in your life that you've experienced where you were very successful. It can be done at lightning speed because what you're really doing is creating a new neural pathway in the brain that is more powerful than the self-doubt. So what happens to us is our brain tends towards the negative. And there's a lot of neurological science behind us as survivors and why negative thought is very often like Teflon and positive thought. Think about this, that negative thought is like Velcro. Negative thought is like Velcro. It sticks to us, whereas positive thought is like Teflon. Think about that. Because our brain very often goes towards the negative because as a primitive species, we were in survival, so we look out for danger. So the key here is to remind yourself that you are not in danger, and that by accessing positive past memories, positive past experiences, you are reminding yourself of all your successes and accomplishments, and you are allowing those to override the feelings of self-doubt. And one thing I promise you is if you do this enough times, when you are feeling threatened, in danger, less than, automatically thinking of the positive past experiences, of your accomplishments, of thinking of what you have done, it will override the negative. So that's just one tip. Of course, I have many, but if you're just joining me this morning, or if you're watching this recorded, I wanted to share the basis of imposter syndrome or self-doubt, or what if I'm found out to not be as good as you think I am. And step number one is to recognize it. Step number two is to normalize it, and then practice the art of thought replacement. Look what I have done. Look at my history. And then there's one other thing, and that is nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything, and it is perfectly okay if you are being asked a question that you don't know the answer to say, I'm going to check on a couple of things and get back to you. And don't let that moment erode your self-confidence. So just a couple of thoughts today around the concept of imposter syndrome, being less than, and the art and science of thought replacement. Because at the end of the day, what we really want to do is we want to own our space and we want to exude confidence and competence. But if we're experiencing self-doubt, it's hard to do that. So practice thought replacement. And here's some tips on owning your.
So what does it mean to own your space? So Own Your Space, which is my book, keynotes, workshops, is all around giving yourself permission to be the person presenting information. If you are giving a sales presentation or you are being interviewed for a new position, do you own your space? Do you look comfortable? Do you look confident? Do you come across both confidently and competently? And in owning your space, you need to understand the verbal and non-verbal elements of your physical space. In other words, what you say, but equally important is how you say it. And then we look at your virtual owning your space. Is your LinkedIn profile complete? Do you have a good picture of yourself? Think about owning your podium when you give a presentation. Do you look comfortable? Do you look commanding? So these are just some of the topics that I cover in Own Your Space. And I ask you to really think about, do you maximize the overall way you project yourself